Hello and welcome back to Monday Morning Detective, the podcast. I'm your host, Gino Scala, and this is episode 47. And we're going to discuss a situation that occurred on Friday where police officers in San Antonio shot and killed a woman having what they describe as a mental health crisis. Now, these three officers shot many times. Obviously, the investigation is still going on. They shot many times through a door, a glass door, and glass windows. The victim, Melissa Perez, 46, was killed after she threw a glass candlestick through the window and then swung a hammer in their direction. She didn't throw it, she swung it, and there is body cam video of this entire incident. She was still over 10 feet away, it appears, when she swung the hammer. These officers unloaded on this woman, shooting her multiple times, and now San Antonio police and the city of San Antonio have arrested these three officers and charged them with murder. One was the sergeant, Alfred Flores, and the officers were Eleazar Alejandro and Nathaniel Villalobos. And they are charged with murder. Now, as you know, the purpose of this podcast is to question some police activity and determine or provide some insight on potentially the legalities of that incident as performed by the officers. And I try not to, I'm not second guessing the officers, because that's really something you can't do if you're not in their shoes. But in essence, I suppose that's what I am doing and what we all do when we investigate a situation after the fact. We use the facts that we have, and now in the past, no video was ever available. So it was really facts based on statements from the officers and any independent witnesses. So now we have video to back up this incident, or all incidents in most cases. And I have to say, from looking at this video about a dozen times, that these charges of murder are accurate. This is a situation where their lives were not in danger. Not even a hammer. All right? Now, you may, if someone attacks you with a hammer, and it really doesn't matter which side of the hammer, the claw side or whatever. But if they're within striking distance, I would say within 3 feet, that's the average length of the arm and the extended hammer, hitting your face or head, which would be lethal in some cases, not all, and you have only your physical attributes or your weapon to defend yourself, you have that right. That person is armed with a deadly weapon. So you have the right to defend yourself. When I worked the streets, I carried mace, I carried a nightstick, and We called it a baton, but that's essentially what it is, a nightstick. And, of course, our sidearm. And this is considered the stair step of defense. You start with perhaps the lowest form of protection is the mace. Now, the mace can shoot 6 to 10 feet and be very effective, but there are situations where you can mace a person from 1 foot away continually and not get any effect because of drugs or whatever. So I've seen it both ways. Now, a baton, we are highly trained in the use of the baton. I was pretty good at it, but you're limited on your strikes. You're limited on the number of strikes, pretty much, and you're limited where on the body you should strike. Nothing higher than the shoulders. I think perhaps at the time we were taught maybe the collarbone, but now you're getting into questionable areas involving the neck, the jaw, and the head. So most of the time we were trained around the kneecaps and the shins. Well, it's an effective weapon, but again, it's like hitting someone with a baseball bat. You get one swing. If it's not effective, then it's either going to be taken away from you and used against you, or it's just you're going to be too close to one another to really use it effectively. So then we get to the handgun. Now, this situation, it's quite probable they didn't know she was having this mental health crisis. We do hear her speak on the video, and you can't tell from what she says. She's very clear in what she is saying. She dares them to shoot her, and at this point she's throwing things out the window, breaking the glass, and has the hammer in her hand, swinging the hammer. There's no report that she threw the hammer. But she's inside her residence, and these 3 officers are outside on her porch. And they shot into the house and killed her. And there's no question this is, it's probably going to be pled down to manslaughter. They're going to lose their jobs, and they're probably going to end up in prison. It's a sad situation for the officers, even sadder for the victim and her family. But in a situation like that, I have been in those situations many, many times. And I never felt the need to pull my weapon. That pulling your gun and pointing it at someone, if you don't intend to use it, you shouldn't have it out. But if you do have it out, you're highly tempted to use it, perhaps even against better judgment. The situation can change, and now you have a weapon in your hand, one that can be turned and used against you quite easily. So you're really risking your own demise if you pull it out with no intention to use it. So, but being on a porch with the suspect in the house, a suspect that you're probably going to arrest because the original call was her cutting some fire alarms in the area, cutting the wires to fire alarms in this apartment complex. So chances are she was probably going to be arrested. And finding out later that she had mental issues, probably she was going to be transported to a mental health facility. But here she is throwing things at the officers. They could have, and they should have, walked back down off the porch, diminished the stress and fear level, at the scene and called SWAT or a negotiator or, in some other way to handle this. We've had situations where we did not even pursue the suspect at that time. We knew who they were. We knew where they lived. She is all wound up, all mental health crisis at this point, and there's really no definitive reason to physically arrest her at that time. That's probably a risky move because, she could potentially hurt herself or hurt someone else. So you're probably going to end the situation there and then, but not this way. Absolutely not. These three gentlemen are, in my opinion, toast. San Antonio powers that be have said as much, that this was completely out of policy. And I don't think they're going to get murder charges. I mean, that's what their charge is, but I think they're going to be agree to something substantially less. At least I hope so. Murder is pretty strong. It shows some intent, and I don't think there's any intent in this. There was intent to shoot her, but not intent to kill. And they didn't go there with the intent to kill. So I think it's going to be pled down to a manslaughter conviction, maybe 5 to 10 years, but that ruins your life, regardless. And I don't know why they did this. Poor training. Maybe they have past history of poor police tactics, but in any event, that's what occurred on Friday in San Antonio, and we will monitor this situation as we proceed through the legal system and give you some update. But I'm on the record as saying these guys are guilty. These guys will probably end up with manslaughter and some time in prison. And it's sad, but not all cops do the right thing at all times. So, we understand that. And that'll do it for episode 47 of Monday Morning Detective. And we will talk to you next time. Have a great day.